Hello friends, I'm Kayla. The vlog concept is very simple today. Libby chooses my TBR. So Libby is an app. It's owned by Overdrive. They're the ones who connect you with your library so you can listen to audiobooks and read ebooks right within the app. I've been using it for years. It's my number one place that I find audiobooks that I don't have to pay for. And recently, the Libby podcast, did you know they have a podcast? Revamped their entire thing. And the first season has started coming out, new episodes, and I'm on them. I haven't gotten to fully listen to any episodes, so I don't know what it fully encompasses because at this moment of filming the intro, the first episode hasn't come out yet, but when I'm posting it, the first episode just came out. And I think it's like, there are author interviews, there's discussions in every week about something, there's book recommendations, and then there's a section where a panel of influencers chat together on Zoom and give book recommendations for that week's theme. And so me and a whole bunch of other people, it's kind of different people every week, but there's a core group of, I think like 10 or so people who were invited and agreed to participate. And we have these conversations and they've been so great. As we were sitting in the very first episode, the theme is audiobooks. And all the other people were recommending their audiobooks. I was like, that sounds good. That sounds good. I want to read that. These people are professionals at pitching books. How did I not think I would leave it with like 17 book recommendations? So ever since that first episode, I've been thinking, how do I turn this into content? I want to read one of these books. I'm going to make a whole video just dedicated to Libby, and Libby's going to choose my TBR. So for one, I'm going to pick something that was suggested in that first episode. I'm going to show you a little clip. Maybe you'll go over and listen to the entire or watch it because it is on camera. And then I'm also going to pull open the app and have it choose my TBR in a couple different ways. I have a few ideas. So one is the episode. One book, the next hold that comes in, if I place a bunch of holds or look at the holds that I already have, I will just listen to the first book that comes in that is loaned to me. And then I know they have on their main page like articles. Maybe I pick one from there. I kind of want to end the day reading something I've never heard of before, but that also is accomplished by the first book that I'm gonna read. First, I guess I'll play a bit of the podcast, hopefully they don't mind, where I got my first book selection from.
My second pick is a dual narrated book, and it's called If an Egyptian Cannot Speak English, and it's by Noor Naga, and it's narrated by Amin El Gamal and the author as well. And essentially, one of the main characters is Egyptian American. She goes to Egypt, she visits Cairo, and there she encounters this young man who was sort of part of some of the like revolutionary activities in the early 2000s, and so he's sort of struggling with his life and you know, not sure what he's doing. But both characters are very unreliable narrators. And when you're reading the physical book, it's a bit confusing. But with the audiobook, you have a different narrator for each of them. And so the switching is like easier to understand. And each chapter starts with a question, a very odd question.
Can I say, I am so glad I'm here. Like, I was already excited to come here and talk about books. I wasn't necessarily thinking that I would get as much value as the listener, but like, I've only read one of these books that you've all mentioned, and they all sound so good, and I'm so happy.
No, I agree. I'm gonna after this, I'm gonna get on my phone and like see which audiobooks I can grab and like probably listen to this when it comes out and be like, oh shoot, I did mean to read that one. Like put it back on the list.
I would show you the entire conversation, but that would obviously be counterintuitive to them putting on the podcast. But I'll link it down below wherever it is, wherever you can find podcasts. I'm pretty sure it's there. This just sounds like the perfect first choice. Okay, and then it does look like I have reserved 20 things already. Let's see what those holds are so you can see what I might be reading. A Blood Over Bright Haven says available soon. The Tainted Cup says available soon. A Most Agreeable Murder says 2 weeks. When the Wolf Comes Home says 5 weeks. A Geographer's Guide to Romance says 5 weeks. Everybody Wants to Rule the World Except Me, Spark of the Everflames, The Emperor of Gladness, Vera Wong's Guide to Snooping, 12 weeks. Now, that doesn't mean anything because it could give it to people and they could say, deliver later, that's the button. And then if 5 people do that, I could end up with something that says it's gonna take months to get here, but it'll actually be here tomorrow. So during this week, whatever pops up first, I'll be reading one of these. Now, what do I wanna do? I wanna check their articles. So on the homepage, we can see just added, and then there are guides. And then there are different themes, like Once Upon a Crime, Book Talk Made Me Read It. Mystical reads sounds the most up my alley. I think we would all agree. Get lost in the netherworld with these paranormal, occult, and supernatural stories for teens. Oh, okay, it's specifically for teens. Oh, I think more are popping up when I delete the ones I don't want to read. Okay, if I delete this, what happens? Okay, more are coming. I need to sit down. I need to lock in. I just realized what a time suck this could be. I think I reached the end. I dismissed 83 lists, and I feel like these ones all encompass my TBR now. I've got a cozy mystery category. I've got unreliable narrators and unlikable protagonists, maybe. Sci-fi, we've got time travel romance, dystopian. Besides Cursed Bunny, I haven't heard of any of these ones, so I feel like I will look through here and I'll pick something that I'm actively interested in, because I think that's what you want to see me read, is something that I think sounds good. The Midnight Bookshop at the very top, like, what is that? That one doesn't even have the synopsis in it. Thea has a secret. She can tell someone how long someone has left to live just by touching them. That sounds stressful. Oh my God, a time capsule from high school? That's so cute. Should I pick something that's available? Maybe that's what I need to do. Because that's like the universe choosing for me, is whatever is available right now, that's the one I have to pick. Cassandra in Reverse. Okay, it's available now, and I actually have it on my 25 and 25 books I need to read by the end of the year. And clearly I was just interested in the ones that play with time. So let me just read this one. Now what we can do is just from the homepage, what if we go to just added, because that would be Libby choosing for me. What have they most recently added? And I'll find something here that I've never heard of. Maybe I borrow 3 things and I try them all out. City of All Seasons. A vibrant and emotional science fantasy about cousins trapped in mirror worlds. This was one that I saw in the mystery thing that I've never heard of. The Busybody Book Club. Nova started a book club at the local community center, but so far it's a disaster. The 5 members disagree on everything, and make matters worse, a significant sum of money is stolen. Oh God, then there's a dead body. Okay, and then to get a romance on here, this one, only because it's you, is like a marriage of convenience where one person needs to be a spousal sponsor. That one sounds fun. Okay, so if this one, Cassandra in Reverse, doesn't scratch my fantasy itch, I have a fantasy to choose. If it doesn't scratch my romance itch, because I kind of wanted a time travel romance, I ended up there. But if there's no romance at all, which I'm not sure if there is, then I could pick the romance. And then if it doesn't scratch the itch of like a mystery, putting together all the pieces kind of book, I have a mystery to choose from. So I have the podcast pick. I have Cassandra in Reverse, which I have to read anyway, so I'm going to pick it. And Libby made it destiny. And then I have 3 to choose from that to go forward with. And then I have 10 more that I have on hold, and we'll see whichever one pops up first. That is my TBR for the week. I can't wait to see what I end up reading. The vlog portion has only just begun, and I'm already messing with what order I'm reading the books in. I decided I was gonna start being back on my productive grind. So first thing when I woke up, I need to relax. As I went for my morning walk, I have to make sure I get outside before 9 a.m. or it gets way too hot. So I set my clothes to wash while I was gone because I'm being productive. I went for like a 45-minute walk. I came back. It got really hot while I was out there, but we made it, and then the laundry was done perfectly on time, and now I'm gonna go get groceries. And while I was out, I started listening to the audiobook of Cassandra in Reverse, and I just wasn't in the mood to read it at this exact moment in time. So I thought, why don't I start the other 3 that I was planning on reading after that, the selection of things that I've never heard of. And so I'll be prepared when I actually read Cassandra in Reverse, which one I want to pick next. So I started with listening to the Busybody Book Club. The library didn't have a physical copy of that, but I do have the audio version. And it started out like a lot of mysteries where just like the characters were getting together, they were talking about their book club, and then there was a thump at the end of the chapter, and that is going to intrigue us into the rest. And I'm sure it's going to be good, but it just seemed fine. Then I was like, oh, I'll start City of All Seasons. This one doesn't have an audiobook. So I ended up starting only because it's you, and because I didn't have an audiobook to switch to after that, I ended up listening to such a good chunk of that. And I have, I think, committed to that one also because I bought it physically. Don't make me explain myself. This one, like, it sounds intriguing enough with a city that has 2 different like seasons happening at the same time. There's these things called weather bombs I learned about in the first chapter. I only got Jamie's perspective. His version of their city, Fair Harbor, is stuck in perpetual winter. And we were getting a lot of backstory about how his family was there and how this one woman affected the town and what weather bombs are and how you can just like make them happen and to grow your crops or whatever, but this one caused a big issue. And then he ended up trading, because they're kind of it's apocalyptic-esque, trading someone for a kaleidoscope, and if he looked through it he could see the other part of the city, which is stuck in perpetual summer. And then that next chapter was going to be from Esther's perspective. You know, interesting enough, but do I really want to read this fantastical apocalyptic thing right now? No. I'm filming a lot of things at once and I forget what's for what. So I think when I saw this in the bookstore, I was like, oh, I have to purchase this for a video. No, I didn't, but it's here anyway. And I'm glad that I ended up really liking the introduction because I already purchased it. And I prefer reading romance physically than the audiobook. So I think I'm allowed to read this physically, regardless of how Libby is introducing me to the books or is giving me the formats to read the books in. I think I can read the book however I want. So Only Because It's You is about this man. He has lived in Canada, I think it was for 8 years. Him and the main character, Ms., his name is Cal, they're both originally from Ethiopia. Well, her family's from Ethiopia. She was born and raised in Canada. He's been living here for 8 years. And he has been participating in plays. Like, he's an actor. In fact, he's currently, I just happen to be wearing my Shakespeare shirt, okay? Oh, I'm lying. I did put this on because I felt like it matched. And he is in an Antony and Cleopatra play, and he just got like put into the lead position. So he's like, oh, my studio, my theater, like takes me seriously. They're sponsoring him to be in Canada, but at this point they can no longer do that. And him and Ms. have been friends for a long time. So that's not the exact story that I thought it was. I thought he was coming from Ethiopia at the beginning of the book and they were just going to have met, but in fact they have been friends already. And other people think that they should date or are dating, so they have this like really like great connection, you know, but they're just friends. In fact, at the beginning of the book, she is in a relationship with somebody else and she gets wronged by him. And so now she's in this kind of fractured emotional state and she's leaning on Cal, one of her friends, and she finds out that he needs now some type of way to stay in Canada. And after a bit of back and forth, I actually don't even know what page I'm on because I was in the audiobook, she offers to be his like wife sponsor so he can stay in Canada and they can just get married, but they're gonna keep it platonic. But first, her idea isn't even, she doesn't even offer up herself. She's like, I'm gonna go out of my way to find a woman to be his sponsor, which is crazy. And she's like totally overstepping, and I love mess, so it definitely worked for me. And also, he wasn't as taken aback by it as I expected. I thought it was gonna like cause some tension between them, but he pretty quickly was like, yeah, I guess that's not like the craziest thing you've ever done for me. So thanks for trying to find me a wife. So she's like interviewing these other women, and I thought it was a fun way to open it. Is that the opening? How far in it am I? Because maybe I just gave you way too much information, but here's the thing. I want to pitch it to you if I end up liking it, because this has such a low average rating, and I'm actually so curious as to why and like what this book is going to do. Oh, I'm in chapter 18. Oh, I'm halfway through the book. We are getting both perspectives. If you do like romance on audio, you get 2 different narrators, so that's nice. I'm 122 pages in and I'm having a good time. I don't really feel chemistry between them, but I'm sure that is to come as they like realize that they're interested in each other. And I won't spoil any more plot beyond that, but maybe there won't be any because they're just gonna like be together and realize that they like each other. And I think that'll be nice. I finished it. I had an initial reaction as far as my rating for sure. And I think that's just because I rate most romance the same. Like a 3.75 is what I rate almost all romance. I'm like, yeah, I get it. There's nothing inherently wrong with it, but it didn't give me like all of the feelings that I wanted. And this one, I do not understand the low rating for. Like, I truly do not. I would have to look at some reviews, but I don't think there's nothing that could convince me this should be poorly rated by me. It felt like every other romance book that I've read, like it sets up these characters. They have a little bit of difficulty deciding if they want to be together or not at different points in the story. Like one is more convinced of their relationship going forward than the other. And then the pace is good because they go on a trip together at one point. And I thought that was good, and them dealing with their families and what their families would think. I often like a marriage of convenience or fake dating story when they have a friend, someone who's in on it with them, so it's not like us against the world kind of vibes. It's, hey, we're all working together for a greater cause, and like everybody around kind of knows that those two are supposed to be together, so they support what's going on, even if they can't admit it to themselves. And we had a couple characters definitely that were like that. A lot of marriage of convenience or fake dating, there's like this big betrayal moment, and I hate those when you've like tricked a family member into thinking something or whatever. And this one, it wasn't on either of those two ends. It wasn't like everybody was in on it, and it wasn't like everybody is being tricked. It was the perfect balance. There was like a little bit of everything. There's like definitely miscommunication because you agreed to this marriage, and then not everything can be hunky-dory when you're creating a fake relationship. But then there was also the cute elements that I always like in fake dating, where they have to get to know each other really well, just in case they're ever going to be like interrogated or interviewed. They have to get like approval once they get married by the government. They have to prove all of these things. They have to put together a list of like when they met and who knows about their marriage and who attended their wedding. And they have to be on the same page with so much stuff. And there was a moment where they were like going around and they were creating these fake memories, and it was really cute. It was good. My problem with it, if I had one specific problem, is because they go back and forth with their own feelings, it almost feels a little inconsistent, but I can like write that off because people can change their minds, and people can, you know, decide one day that maybe I want to be with him, and then the next day like that seems insane. But the story got to a point where it felt like she had written all of Mrs. chapters and then went in and wrote all of Cal's in like the second half, because it started to feel inconsistent, like chapter to chapter, as if she didn't know like she didn't reread what was happening in Mrs. chapters, because then when she wrote Cal's, Ms. was acting a little bit differently than she was literally one page ago from her own perspective. So I think there was a bit of inconsistency there, but it doesn't affect the story hugely. Just overall, I didn't feel anything towards them. I really love a witty banter, and they didn't have that. I'm always hesitant to love friends to lovers because I'm not there for the beginning of their relationship, and I didn't know that's what this was when I picked it. I would recommend it. I think it's pretty traditional as far as like most contemporary romances go, and I think most people would like this, but I'm hesitant to say that because a lot of people are giving it a low rating, but I'm gonna ignore them, and you should too. I have started Cassandra in Reverse. I'm really excited to read this. Naturally, because it was on my TBR shelf, this one was randomly selected, but also like I wanted to read it. We meet Cassandra, who I don't want to call her unlikable because that's not really fair. She's a character that people in the story don't like. People she's interacting with don't really get her. They struggle with getting along with her, her roommates, her boss, her boyfriend. And it opens with like just the worst day of her life. She's getting dumped. She loses her job, just everything is going poorly. I have seen her discover that she is repeating the same day, and she's kind of accepted that, realized what's happening. And that's kind of all for 60 pages. And that's been a lot of pages. It has felt kind of exhausting to get to this point, but I still really like the concept. I like the idea. I love stories like this. Una Out of Order is one that I could compare it mostly to, where I don't believe this is going to be about solving why it's happening. It's just happening and you just have to go along with it. I believe her to have autism and synesthesia, though it's not being called out specifically. I think that's the representation that we are supposed to understand is in the book. It says right here, Holly was diagnosed autistic at the age of 39. She's talking a lot about trying to understand everyone around her. That's been a lot of the 60 pages so far, is her talking to various people and not knowing how they're feeling or what they're thinking, and how she's trying to interpret things, and how she always has to work really hard to understand people, and she wished people would speak just in clearer language. And she sees people's emotions via like color emanating off of them, not in a fantastical way, but in what I'm perceiving as, you know, a synesthesia kind of way. And that's, you know, her boyfriend is angry and she knows that because he's radiating wearing pink or whatever. I'm definitely most interested to see like how time is going to continue to work and move. If it's going to be the same day over and over again, which is how it feels, or if we're going backwards, or if there's going to be different jumps in time. I don't think I should necessarily let you know that, but I'll let you know how I'm feeling about everything. Maybe like I'll check in at the halfway point. I do have the audiobook from Libby, so I'm going to listen to that and we'll see how everything goes. This book is way too long. I like the book. It's a shame because I like the book, but I don't like reading it. I'm not having a good time. It's incredibly exhausting and I still have a third of the way to go. This would make for a really good movie. Like part of it reads kind of like a screenplay, and there have been more and more books lately being published that feel this way, that they're being set up to be pitched as a movie, because there are certain scenes that feel like they could be turned into a montage, but me having to actively read them, it's so tiring. You know how a book can have a metaphor and you can talk about the themes of the book and what you think the book is trying to say. You can't say that about this book because it's not a theme, it's not a conversation, it's not an element, it is the book. In the same way that Daphne by Josh Malerman is not like hinting at anxiety, like the entire plot of the book and not being able to think of this villainous character or they'll kill you, it is anxiety, like as a book. In the same way, this is hyperfixation. This is overthinking as a book. Like that is the entire point of it. Time travel in general is an appealing thing to think about because you can go back and right your wrongs and fix your past and change the little mistakes that you made. That would be appealing to anybody, but it's especially appealing to her because she is autistic and she has these social interactions that don't go well for her and people are constantly misunderstanding her. She's misunderstanding them. So she'll have a conversation. She'll be like, let me try that again. She'll close her eyes and she'll start over. And she's learned how to use the time travel to her advantage, but it's not in the grand way that I've seen it done in other books and that I love in other books, where you see different partners that you might have and you see different lives you might have lived in different jobs and like entire different scenarios. In here, it's like she got broken up with in the very first chapter. That's how the book is pitched to us, and she wants to fix that. She wants to figure out why that happened to begin with. So we're going back and repeating the same conversation with this man, the same date with this man, the same time she had sex with this man, over and over again to the point of exhaustion. But that's the point. And so I respect this book and I think it's a good book, but I'm so tired because Cassandra is also so tired. She is fatigued having to sleep with this man over and over again until she gets it right. And it's funny. And in a movie, you could see it play out of her sleeping with this guy over and over again until it goes right, until he says the right thing after, until he alludes to the second date, until they both have an equally good time. And I don't think the hyperfixation even needs to be relatable if you want to read this, because you're so in her head and you get why she's doing it. She sees herself as unlikable and you're getting all of the inner thoughts that you want her to have. Like, there is nothing wrong with me. I just think differently than other people. I interpret things differently. And so every time I go to fix something, am I implying that I myself am wrong, that there is something wrong with me, and like how that's messing with her mental health even more. So like everything is good in here. It's gonna end up being a feel-good story where she realizes like certain things she didn't need to change, and also is it morally right what she's doing, because this man in some ways is being manipulated by her. He just doesn't know it because she's changing things that he'll never know were changed in this specific timeline. The audiobook is 13 hours. It's a very long time spent with this woman doing the same things over and over again, but that's the point. On another note, let me show you what I just picked up from the library, because I have a haul. I have quite the haul. And I thought I would save some of these for my upcoming videos, but I want to make sure I'm showing up so much appreciation for the library in this vlog. So I wanted to show you. I have gone to the library. First up, okay, I have a Feather So Black. This is actually for a vlog, but here's a little sneak peek of something coming up. Oh, I got Forget Me Not. I don't know why. I think this is something that I reserved, thinking that I would use it for a video. I would read it eventually, and then it just arrived, so now I already have it. I don't know for sure if I'm gonna read this for the next vlog, but I do have Howl's Moving Castle So this is an option for something upcoming. I have Paladin's Grace, which I will for sure be reading for a video. I have so many plans. I have so many things I'm working on. The Shards is very big, and I also don't know. I think the video that I'm filming, it's between these two, so I have to like start them both. One of them seems more up my alley than the other, but one also seems like an easier read. So which one am I gonna prioritize? I don't know. I can't wait for you to find out. Oh, and then Anne of Green Gables, which I can't remember if I've told anybody. I know I've told my members, but have I said publicly I'm reading Anne of Green Gables? I think I did. I think I did in my summer TBR. And then this is a lot shorter than I thought. Okay, I just dropped Liam off at work, and I was gonna come down to the beach to read, but I don't have my little fuzzy mic, so I couldn't update you by the water, which was what I was dreaming. So I just finished the book sitting here. And I have so many more feelings than I thought I would. That last third, I feel like the book was gaslighting me. Like, surely there was a difference in the audiobook versus the physical book. Like, I just went on, thank goodness I have the Libby app and I had the ebook too, and I searched a couple words in the ebook and they didn't exist. But I am so certain that before I updated you for the first time, I absolutely heard the words neurodivergent because I was confident enough saying it. Like, I'm so sure it said something about her knowing her brain was different. Her knowing, like, there was absolutely discussion about something. Like, I'm so certain of it. It's so confusing because I feel like the book wanted the autism to be a plot twist. That's just how it felt like it was being introduced to us. I thought Cassandra knew the entire book that she was autistic and she was using the skills that she had already. And I was like, okay, she's working through all of this and she's recognizing that her autism isn't a problem to be solved. It's something she just has to work with. And then it was like someone announcing to her that she had autism. I'm so confused because I thought everyone already knew that. This is my problem with a lot of books where there's like already established relationships, because in my mind, these people already knew each other so well. And so like, obviously he knew she had autism. So every time that she was exhibiting certain behaviors that wouldn't be seen as neurotypical, he already like knew that, but apparently not. Like, I read the book wrong. I don't know what's happening, but I also like kind of hated the final third and what it did with the time travel. And like, at the same time, I don't think it could have really ended any differently. Objectively, I think the book is good, but I didn't like reading it. There was a character introduced. I'm so frustrated by this book, to be honest. I think I'm just gonna do a full spoiler moment when I get home. So skip the next couple minutes because it's not a rant. I just like want to talk through like, what does anyone else feel how I feel about this, because it's a Reese's book club book and I think it has a pretty high average rating, so like most people seem to really be enjoying this. Okay, so I went back and I figured it out. They used the phrase on the spectrum a few times. To be fair, it was used by other characters and not Cassandra herself. So other people were referring to her being on the spectrum, and to me, that just meant everybody in the book and us as the reader understood she's on the spectrum. Now, I don't get to, nor would I want to, have an opinion on the representation of this book. This is Holly Smale's own voice's story. It's raising awareness about people who get later in life diagnoses. And I love that she's raising awareness about women with autism. I've read nonfiction, especially about this exact same situation of somebody not realizing they have autism until they're in their 30s and suddenly everything clicks and everything makes sense in their life, and then they can take the tools and figure out how to move about in the world in a way that makes them more comfortable. So it's just so hard to have this conversation, you know what I mean? Because as a neurotypical reader who this author doesn't need to cater to, like, my opinion just doesn't matter, but it's hard to not talk about my opinion. So I don't know. I really hope I don't say something offensive here. I just don't think that necessarily needed to be an element of the story, was her not knowing she had autism. It doesn't change, it wouldn't change anything about the book. So the fact that it's like a twist, I don't think accomplishes anything except giving representation for, again, somebody who gets diagnosed later. But the thing is, she doesn't even really get diagnosed. It's just at the end of the book, her sister mentions, oh, hey, you're autistic, and gives her like, you know, the medical terminology for what someone with autism, like what that means. And then she's like, oh, okay. So there isn't time spent with her like connecting everything that she's been feeling and going through, connecting all of these dots. It just felt like it felt kind of strange to have that be a part of it when we understood her life to be a certain way already. Because it's not like her autism is just a small element of the story. It is the story. You could not have the story without that. Every single scene is about that. I don't know anything about this woman's job, but I know how much time we spent at her workplace and how she, you know, was trying to figure out how her boss, if her boss was being sarcastic. She was having a meltdown over someone using her mug. She was wearing noise canceling headphones at one point. She was uncomfortable with certain fabrics. She couldn't sleep anywhere but her own bed. You know, she needed her daily muffin and like everything had to be the exact same every day. She had to wear the same thing every day. I'm not listing a bunch of things that are like, this is why she had autism. It's just like the book revolved around how difficult she found every portion of her life and how hard it was to navigate through her relationships with everybody, her coworkers, her roommates, her boyfriend, ex-boyfriend. And the book had so many good things to say at the end of the day about her figuring out who she is and what she wants. Like there were great quotes about how a relationship shouldn't be this hard. She shouldn't have to fight for this and that, how there is nothing wrong with her, how this partner isn't actually the one for her. Which is just so nuts that those are then the takeaways. I love the takeaways, but not when we spent 300 pages fighting for this relationship and giving me all of this evidence of how great this man is. For him to end up with, gasp with me, her sister. In fact, her sister and the plotline around her sister was wild. Because it like halfway through the book, you find out she has like a stalker and suddenly it's this mystery thriller. And there are these moments where she runs into this woman and has these like screaming matches, unpacking things that they have dealt with in the past. And like, so I had to take out the audiobook and just read it physically because it was so overwhelming, these scenes. Turns out it's her sister who she hasn't spoken to in like 10 years who's stalking her and trying to like reconcile with her. And her sister brings this whole extra level of chaos in that final third. And her sister ends up with the guy and she like gives them her blessing. You might be asking yourself, Kayla, where's the time travel? I don't know. This book tried to pack in so much stuff I can't even explain to you. Like we were all over the place and I was like, let's get back to the time travel. Because even her sister was like, she told her sister she could time travel. And her sister was like, oh, chill. Tell me, what have you done? Like, tell me all the cool things you've done. Did you save anybody's life? Did you do anything impactful? And Cassandra's like, no, I keep going back 5 minutes in time to like redo the same conversation over and over again with this man who I also know that you're interested in. But in this other timeline, in this other timeline, in this other timeline that I visited, maybe I understand that you two should be together instead of me. So they heal their relationship very quickly. She decides she doesn't actually want to be with this man very quickly. She learns how to time travel very quickly, but with no explanation. And I don't mean like the actual science, because I don't need to understand that, but like the testing portion. Like how did she find out? Like how she's just closing her eyes and she's suddenly at a different time. I want to know, does she have to think of a certain moment? How does she get to that certain moment? How far back can she go? Because suddenly she's like, oh, I can only go back a couple months or something. And I'm like, when did you figure that out? Did I miss something? And then at the end, she decides, which is not shocking because that's how so many of these books end, figures out that like everything that is meant to be and I shouldn't be meddling with anything. So she goes back and it never happened and she starts completely over again. I think with the knowledge of everything that she's already been through. So it's good for her own self-development, and in that way I understand why the book wants to do that, but also it just kind of feels like a cheap, it was all just a dream kind of plot if we're just going back to square one. Also, there was this entire Greek mythology element that I was interested in, but it was a lot. It became a lot. And I just think that the author really has this interest in Greek mythology and therefore gave Cassandra this interest in Greek mythology, but it wasn't imperative to the book. And with how long it already felt, it just bogged it down even more. So yeah, it was feeling like, I don't know, a 4-star. I could have seen it being a 4-star. And then it felt like a 3-star, and then it felt like a 2-star, and then maybe it felt like a 3-star again, because I also don't think this book did anything objectively wrong. It's just I didn't have a good time with it. So how do I rate it? How do I rate it? Someone tell me. It's in the 2s. It's in the 2s, and it's a really frustrating feeling, and the only way that I could explain to you why is to spoil it. So I really hope not that many people like still wanted to read this, because to those people who skipped to this part, I can't tell you why I didn't like it without explaining everything that I just read. And I don't think I can in good faith recommend this, which just like feels shitty. It really feels shitty, and I don't like this feeling. And I'm gonna read something else. All right, the podcast has officially come out, and it's so exciting. It's really long. They're basically doing like 2+ hour episodes instead of a little piece of content every couple days. It's like these longer experiences that come out in seasons. I think it's a really interesting concept. And I watched back jananie pitching this, and I'm really excited that I picked it because she also mentioned something about there being like a bunch of voices, or like kind of something twisty regarding various people or characters near the end of the book that the narrator does really well. So I'm looking forward to that. So I am of course listening to the audiobook as I was instructed, but I have the physical one as well. What's interesting is it's about these 2 different perspectives, and they have very different lives. I'm currently doing sprints with my channel members, so we're all reading together. Liam having his last day of school, he's currently in a test, and then I'm taking him to the doctor, and then I'm taking him to hockey after summer hockey starts today. So we'll see if I can finish this also by the end of the day. We are from these 2 different perspectives. One person in Cairo, the other is like returning well, to a country she's never been to before, but it's where her entire family is from. And they meet, and we're reading from both of their perspectives just about life and how the country treats them and how they exist, but also as they begin to engage in a relationship. And it's just such an interesting choice seeing how these 2 are starting to become kind of toxic. I could see it going in an abusive kind of direction, and to have been reading from both their perspectives leading up to them kind of getting, it's just an interesting choice that this is how we would watch this relationship develop. And it's funny because I didn't actually read, that's basically what the synopsis says. I've never read the synopsis, I just heard the pitch of it, and that's why I picked it, but that's exactly how it's explained to us. Through poetic prose, their desire for each other, for the selves they strive to become through the other, takes a violent turn. We're getting a lot of history, like it was kind of fun back to back getting a little bit of their father's story. I just like how this is told and how it's organized. We got this look at her father and how he came to America and how he's perceived by people, how people want to assimilate or be told to assimilate to fit in, and the unique experience for people who go from being ostracized by the community to being like fetishized in a way. Now he's being glorified as like this exotic, air quotes, dentist, and he is using that for his own marketability as being like holistic, and people want to come to him for, you know, the Northern African cures. And it's how she sees her father and what he's doing, what he's going through. And so when she comes to Egypt, she is seeing how she's treated differently in also like a group of people where she doesn't feel like she belongs. But it's not just her, she's seeing how everybody is treated in the country or the city, and how it's not as much about culture and religion as she thought it would be, but it's about money, and how people don't even want people living in poverty to come into their establishment. Even if they might have the money to spend, they don't want to be associated with certain individuals. And she is someone who has money. Obviously, she's come there from America and she has the option to leave. She has the money to leave at any time. And so it's just all about how she's being perceived by people and how other people are perceiving other people. That's kind of what the focus has been so far. There was this interesting part where she was talking about how there's a language barrier for her, and she's getting in this cab and she thinks she can tell them like the street that she wants to go on or the direction she wants to go, but that's not how people communicate, and that's not how people take directions. It's based on, you know, a corner store that everybody knows exists, and if you don't know the little small town feeling references, then you can't even get around. Now at this point, halfway through, I don't know if this is where I am. I'm around this point. They've just moved in together, And I'm worried to see what's about to happen with their relationship, but I'm so hooked. The narrators are doing a fantastic job as promised. I love the writing style. I'm having a good time. I'm just like worried for everybody, which I guess is the marker of a successful narrative. I'm having a good time with this. I have 50 pages to go. I think it's giving a very stereotypical, narrow view of, I don't know, I want to say Cairo as a city, but that's definitely the intent. Like the point is that we're viewing it from certain perspectives that are not completely accurate. And I've had a couple people tell me that I'm really gonna like the ending, or that it's gonna like surprise me or something, and I can't wait to find out what that means. So let's go ahead and finish it up. My bookmark today, I think this is the lid of something, like when you peel it off of maybe like a medicine bottle. It's just what I had in the Jeep. I love a footnote, and this book is absolutely full of them. There's so many. Sometimes there's like 3 to 4 at the bottom of the page, and I love it. It makes me stop what I'm reading, look down at the bottom, then I get back into it. It's great. That was fascinating, so interestingly written. I had a good time. Without completely spoiling like what this book does, there's just an extra little element to it that makes it a very Kayla book. There are a couple books that I would compare this to, but it would ruin like what the book is doing. There's just something, there's like a little sprinkling of something outside of the traditional narrative that is so good on top of what is already an interesting book. I finished the book and I filmed that clip at midnight last night, so I wasn't the most coherent and I couldn't fully explain to you what I liked about the book or even my rating. I slept on it, and this is a 5. This is absolutely a 5. I don't know how in the moment I was questioning it, this was a 5-star read for me. I'm so excited. I think this is only my 7th of the year and I really needed it. Also, don't look at my hair because I let it air dry and it's doing something, but I'm gonna fix it. Have I told you like what this is really about? I think so. But what I love about it is about 2 characters from different places. Neither of them are from Cairo. He is from a small village. I opened it to the perfect page. Shubrahit, I think is what it's called. I literally just flipped to a page to find the pronunciation, and I found a description of the village, which is what I was going to tell you about. So he is from there and he moves to Cairo, just like she moves to Cairo, for something different. They both want to feel belonging like anybody does. They want to feel like they're a part of something. They want to get away from what they've experienced before, even though they have very different life experiences. Both coming to Cairo is for a similar reason. And they both equally feel like they do not belong. They are not welcomed for different reasons and at different times. They don't get names in the story. They are referred to, you only hear about them through each other's perspective. And from hers, she calls him the boy from Shubrahit, and he calls her the girl from America. Or she's referred to as the girl with no hair or the girl with the shaved head. When she arrives, she is expecting to feel like, oh, I'm back in my homeland. She is a very self-aware character in that when she is living in America, she finds herself really identified by her like wokeness, and she finds it easy to identify and speak up for marginalized communities and to recognize who is being mistreated. She feels comfortable in her identity with that, and when she comes to Egypt, she finds it more difficult to navigate who the oppressed is and how people are treated based on their religion and how certain things run so differently than what she's used to, and if her speaking up for a certain community is actually a better thing, or like if she's even recognizing who is being treated fairly or who's in charge and like how things actually function, how you're allowed to present yourself in public, how you might be punished for that. And she sees a very, limited scope of that for sure. But she connects with him because he's from this small town, and so he also is kind of feeling a sense of distance from the city that he wants to bring him into so badly. So she finds comfort in him kind of telling it like it is and letting her into a world that where she feels like he belongs more than her. And then he feels a pull towards her because she sees him as from there and he doesn't get to be seen as that. So he feels like a sense of importance, and they both feel acceptance in each other for that. And it calls itself a romance, a dark romance, which is just really interesting because I think romance implies that you are at some point supposed to feel good about the relationship, but it isn't that. Like, it's toxic. And you get a sense of that from the beginning. It definitely has toxic elements, and I don't think that's something that should be a surprise, obviously. There is drug abuse and there is violence. And I really just think that this book is a representation of how they're feeling in the city in the first place, or how the city can make people feel. How it can be like a relationship where it's a place you want to belong. It's a place that can lure you in. It's also a place that can spit you out and can make you feel like you don't matter and that you don't belong. And it's also a place where you feel an obligation to, at least these characters, they feel like it's a part of them. They can't reject something that they've wanted to belong to. And it's the same with a relationship. Like, you started this back and forth with this person. How can you just cut ties with them even if you are being treated poorly? There's a sense of obsession in this book, again, with the relationship and the location. I think that was done really well. Chaos ensues at one point, and then the ending is just so good because you get to grapple with all the feelings that you started to feel throughout the story, and you're hearing your own thoughts or conflicting thoughts to what you had spelled out for you by various characters at the end. That's, I guess, how I would explain the ending. It's such a good book. You know me, I don't like to broadly recommend anything to anyone because I don't know what the general public would feel. So I'm not going to say like everybody would love this. The writing is something that takes getting used to. It is dense. It's definitely odd with its prose, not necessarily with its plot. It's a pretty quick read though, so I would say give it a go if we like similar things. I'm really happy that I ended up picking this. I was going back and forth with what I wanted to choose from the podcast, and I'm really glad that this is the one that I ended up going with. Now, I am reading, drum roll please, maybe it's already in the thumbnail, but it's Blood Over Bright Haven. That was the first thing that came in from the library. Since then, I've had 2 other audiobooks come in, When the Wolf Comes Home, and they're on my shelves right in front of me. Everyone Wants to Rule the World Except for Me. I have both of those now, so hopefully I'll get to those also in the next couple weeks. But this is the one that came in first, so I started listening, and I'm 10% into the audiobook, and I really like it already. We're following this woman named Sayona. I'm not sure if it's established how old she was. I feel like it said she was 20. She was talking to somebody who she's known for 20 years. And like, she wants to be a high mage. We're in this, like, it's a fantasy book. And every 10 years, I think it's every year they do a competition to become, maybe it's every 10 years they do the competition. She was saying basically that every 10 years they let a woman into the competition. So maybe it's that they let one woman in, and she was just telling me that it's every 10 years. I don't have the book physically to flip through and like tab to remind myself of exactly all the rules, so that's my bad. But basically there is no women who are high mages, and they don't want women to be high mages, but occasionally they let one try out in this competition to basically prove, oh look, this is why we shouldn't have women as high mages, because they make the competition extra difficult for them and whatever. So we have Sayona, who is better than any of the other mages in the competition. It's basically like they have to go to this panel of the archmages, and then there's also like an audience who gets to watch, and they get asked to do a series of tests. They're like, use your powers to hand out all of these leaflets. They have to cut something in half, split it perfectly evenly, and like prove that they can do all of this with their powers. And the magic was explained really interestingly. And of course, because I don't have the physical book, I don't remember exactly what it was, but there was 2 pieces that you had to do, like 2 different things at once. And it was like easy to do one at a time. Like you could do the physical stuff, but not the manipulation, or you could do but not the movement, or whatever it was. and people ahead of her were doing fine. There was one person who was being tested, and he is like a legacy of somebody who was on the panel. And I think he was really interestingly introduced, because I can't even tell at this point if we got all the information about him because he's about to be like a love interest, a friend, or a villain. Like, I have no idea. And then it went quickly through a couple other people, and then it was her turn, and she was like the most powerful person who did everything perfectly and went above and beyond what was expected of her. So now all of the, I'm sure, women in the magical world are going to be like, this is like our girl. She's proving that we are powerful and we are incredible. And I love that. I love the magic, because I feel like ML Wang has to have a background in like coding or programming, because the magic system is like very program language. It's like, if this condition is met, then this action gets performed. If this is not, this action gets performed. I think the story is like about her getting into this position and discovering that not everything is as it seems. So she grew up in this magical world, and the mages are perfect and wonderful and great, and all of the, you know, essentially politicians who are making the decisions are doing everything with everyone's best interest. But obviously, once she actually is involved in all of the decision making and the powers, like, she's gonna build this like magical, powerful wall or something that people, so she's just like helping protect everything. And I'm sure she's going to discover that, you know, that they're doing something with more malicious intent than she was raised to think. It's now midnight. I didn't finish the book before bed like I wanted, but I'm 60% of the way through the audiobook. And I'm very interested in where the story is going, especially considering this is a standalone. I am putting trust in this author that the book is going to say things I'm not expecting. Like, right now, it feels like a story about the main character and saving an entire community, an oppressed ethnic group, essentially, in this fantasy world, and her like learning that people are bad and that she has been contributing to harm without knowing, and now she's going to change her mindset and she's going to be a savior. And I just don't feel like that's the story that ML Wang would write, the takeaway. So I'm interested to see exactly like what goes on with this woman. I have a feeling about how it's going to end and like what her storyline is actually going to be. Oh, also, she's not 20. She's like in her mid to late 20s, I think. It said she's been training to be a mage for 20 years. That's where I got the 20 years from. But there was a moment I jotted down. She has this like assistant named Tamil. I listened to the audiobook and I can't even remember. Tamil or Tamil. And he is from the oppressed group. And he's gotten this kind of like opportunity to assist her because she's a woman and she doesn't get the normal assistance. So it's seen by a lot of the other people that they're giving her a lesser, I don't even want to say person, like this group is not even seen as human by so many people. But there was just this moment where he closed a door on her and hurt her by accident. And she says, "It's okay, you didn't mean it." And he says something like, that doesn't matter, it still happened. And I feel like that is the entire theme of the book, that even though she was previously unaware that this group was being harmed, that she is still complicit in it. And I think it's this broader conversation about oppression and how just because she is oppressed herself doesn't mean she can't still do harm to others. It's got a lot of heavy-handed messaging. It's got a lot of heavy-handed scenes, and I think that's the overall message, but I just can't imagine the whole point is focused on this woman and how she's gonna like fix everything. I don't think she is the hero of the story. Right now, it feels like she's set up to be the hero of the story. It feels like when I was reading Dune, and I was like, surely this isn't what we're actually doing, and it turned out we weren't. Even though she's treated so poorly by so many people and women do not get many opportunities, that doesn't mean that she isn't able to discriminate against a lower class, and she's been raised in this world still. And even if she is learning, she's changing her mind, and she's very open to being educated, that doesn't mean she hasn't participated. The book is definitely well written in that it gives us this character who doesn't know how the magic functions. He's like a layman to her who she gets to explain how the magic works. And in that, it gets to explain to us as the reader without feeling info dumpy. I think that's really successful. She's teaching him a lot about the religious doctrine that they are following. And the doctrine is a big reason why his community has been harmed. So he's like pushing against her a lot and is like, why do you believe that? Why do you think that? You do understand that this group of people, like, we don't follow the same religion, so why do you think that my life should be dictated by your God? All super relevant, timely. I mean, throughout time and history, these conversations have relevance, but it's told just through the lens of a magical system instead of the world that we actively live in. It's good. I'm having a good time. I so badly want to stay up all night and finish it because I want to know how it's going to end. And I want to know if my theories about the intent of the story are going to be proven true or not. And just like that, I have finished Blood Over Brighthaven. Thank you to the library for having it available. Thank you to Libby for being the reason that I read it. I'm giving it a 4. I feel good about it being a 4. Like I said before, all the themes were really well explored. I think the book went in a direction that I kind of expected and I hoped in a lot of ways because of everything that was being talked about. This is not one that I want to spoil for anybody. One of the themes of the book is a really relevant one, that progress can't be made without resistance. And because of that, I wish that we had seen the entire group, like the entire Quinn as a whole, being highlighted the same way that we had like 1 or 2 characters being really humanized in the text. I wish we got that for an entire community. Obviously, the biggest portion is the idea that if you recognize harm, you now have a responsibility to help mitigate that. And that is what our main character was embodying. But at the same time, the book didn't completely go back on everything it built this character to be. And she was still selfish and she was still resistant of certain ideas, even when she was doing good and changing everything. There are things for you to think about further and interpret, and how you see the future of this world existing and what was accomplished now that ignorance is no longer something you can fall back on. So those are the 4 things. I've read 4 things now for this video, and I've always wanted to do a library picks my TBR kind of video, and the idea of like going into a library and asking a librarian is always appealing. It's been suggested to me a couple times. I don't think I could ever like go and ask a bookshop employee or a librarian to be on camera with me. That's just so not, I don't think I could do it. But in this way, I got to have the app control things, and I think it went well. Well, for the most part. Tell me the current book that you have out from the library if you want to leave that in the comments below, and I will see you in a couple days with another one. Bye!